in my lifetime, there's never been
Yeah.
changes in context this great. And that only means that there are just so many new opportunities to create categories of products and services today than I've seen in 40 years.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today is a brand new rock star. I'm so excited to dive in. He's the founding partner of Category Design Advisors, a best-selling author. He's an award-winning columnist, and he's a TV commentator, all-around rock star. Kevin Maney, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Kirby. If only I was a real rock star, that would be even more fun.
Even more. That's right. Absolutely. But we would, both of us would be less sober and more hungover. So this is way better.
Sounds good to me. I'm not sure.
It does sound pretty good. Well, cool. So we talked about category design advisors. I want to dig into that first off, because you've talked about the importance of creating new market categories. Mm-hmm. I'm super curious about that. What do you mean by that, and how can we do it?
Okay. Well, just start with an observation, which is that, study after study, we use data to try to see this through this lens, and shows that in most market categories, especially digital markets, one company runs away with the category, takes 75, 80% of the market share, takes most of the profits, economics, all of that. And if your listeners kind of think through different categories, they know they probably realize that's the case.
Yeah.
So we kind of reverse engineered that idea and said, like, okay, well, if that's true, then if you're running a company or a leadership team of a company, why would you not want to do everything you could to increase the odds that you're going to be that one that leads the category? So if you start with that thought of, like, that's the reason you should think this way, then how do you take that apart and do it? And the book we wrote, Play Bigger, which came out now 6.5 years ago, is essentially like that. It's a playbook. It took apart, like, how do you create a new market category, or go into a still sort of amorphous kind of lots of companies pinging around category, and design that category, literally reach out and design that space in a way that benefits you as the company that's going to try to take over that space. And so it starts with being able to see what that missing opportunity is, a category that could be created, or see how you could go into a still developing category and be the one that becomes what economists call the dominant design in that category over time. And then put together essentially a narrative and a roadmap that makes people think that you're the ones who know that category best, and gives you a North Star to try to follow to get there.
That is super interesting. I really like that concept. Is like, if you want to be the dominant force in a market, you create your own market. And I love that. That's super interesting. So love that. In the book, say again what the book is called.
It's called Play Bigger.
Cool. And you can find it on Amazon and all those places, I assume.
Find it everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So everybody's talking about AI. I mean, that's obviously a super important topic, and rightly so. So how do you think that AI is going to sort of change the economy and maybe whatever industry you're in?
Oh, and it's a great question, because there's just so much going on right now.
Right.
And our minds are being blown by ChatGPT and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, totally.
But here's the thing about the way we look at new categories to be created is it's essentially a new problem to be solved, or an old problem that can be solved in a completely new way that hasn't been done before.
Right.
In that little sort of equation, you can usually find something that's missing in the world that could be addressed.
Yeah.
And one of our observations is that changes in context, and by context I mean, like, what the technology is that's being built today, what's around it, societal changes, political changes, a war in Ukraine, a pandemic. These are all changes in context,
Yeah.
and the bigger the changes in context, the more category openings there are, because big changes in context either create new problems that didn't exist before,
Right.
or like in the case of something like super powerful AI, a new way to solve some older problems that never existed before.
Right.
And so what excites me, as in this seat as a category designer, is that in this moment, coming off a pandemic, a war in Ukraine, a global shifting of economies and how globalization works, and then all of these AI, 3D printing, blockchain, all of these things that we're inventing today, the changes that in my lifetime, there's never been
Yeah.
changes in context this great. And that only means that there are just so many new opportunities to create categories of products and services today than I've seen in 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that I totally agree, and I think that we're all kind of learning what is coming next. So I love your perspective on that. So one of the things that I've seen that you talk about is certainly storytelling, but we kind of look at it as marketing is storytelling. But I've seen you say that the CEO needs to be a storyteller too. Can you talk a little bit about how CEOs can use storytelling?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that too,
Yeah.
because so let me just start by saying that,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know a lot of your listeners are in marketing. One important thing is that this whole idea of category design, it's a whole company thing. It's
Okay.
not just on the marketer's shoulders. It
Yeah.
can't be. In fact, most of the time, or a lot of the time, marketers bring us into the company because they see it through the power that it can be through that lens. But this, the CEO, the head of product, the head of sales, all of those people have to be completely on board with this
Mm-hmm.
this category strategy. But the way that once we go through, like if we're working with a company, with a client company, once we go through the process of discovering that category and understanding why this company thinks it's the one that can create it and dominate it, and understanding all of that, the way that we capture it and put it together so that the company can drive it throughout its own company and actually then drive it out into the world is not as a bullet pointed pitch deck. It's not as it's a narrative. We
Right.
actually create a narrative. We create this 800 or so word story that lays out why this category needs to exist right now, what the problem is that's being solved, what the solution looks like if it's done perfectly, and why this particular company are the ones that have the superpower to create that solution. And
Yeah.
we do it in a very narrative storytelling form, because that's how people absorb
Yeah.
things better than anything.
Yeah. Agreed.
And it has to be the leadership team has to all rally around that and make it the story that the company tells themselves. It's not necessarily the words that are going to go on the website or the words that are going to, be in the marketing campaign. But if it's the story that everybody in the company tells themselves, just like in a religion, I mean, the Bible is the story that Christians tell themselves,
Right.
and that informs the way that the company exists in the world, and the
Hmm.
way that it creates its marketing message or sales decks or its investor decks or whatever it's looking
Hmm.
for. So we believe that narrative story is it's the centerpiece, it's the core.
Yeah, I find that super interesting. So, and again, you've got me really thinking here, Kevin. So I appreciate that. That's good. All right, this has been great. Final question for you. So,
Sure.
what tip or tips can you give people to help sort of grow? One of the things I like is to give people tangible things, if we can, in this show. So, what tips can you give people to grow personally or professionally?
Well, I believe that this lens, this sort of idea of category design, category creation, it's great for companies, but it actually, as an individual, you can use that too,
Mm.
because you know uh, um, where you're going to succeed is, in life, in a career especially, is to differentiate yourself and
Yeah.
find that thing that that only that problem that you're the only answer for, right?
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you're the only answer for it, then the world's going to be a path to your doorstep. You're not going to have to like say, and we always say, like, the whole category design thing. So one thing we say is that better is a terrible argument.
Mm,
Better is an argument you have to make over and over and over again. Oh, I can do this, 10% faster than somebody else, or that's and somebody else is going to come along and say they're better than you. But if you're the only answer, and everybody recognizes you as that, then that's a position that lasts, for a very long time, and a really good place to be.
man, great stuff, Kevin. This is really good. If somebody wants to find out a little bit more about you, where can they go?
Our firm is Category Design Advisors, and the website is very literally categorydesignadvisors.com. And you can go there, and I have a personal website, kevinmaney.com, where there's other things that I do. And so either way, you can find me.
Perfect. Well, Kevin, thanks so much. This has been fun. We'll have to do it again sometime. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Kirby.
You bet. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.